Hi everyone, how are we all? I hope that we are doing well today. I'm really excited because we're talking about a new launch and it kind of came at the perfect time because I just finished up a few complexion products and I was actually going to repurchase the Kjaer Weis cream foundation, and then like a day later they launched this, and so I thought I would give it a try. This product was kindly gifted to me from Integrity Botanical, so thank you so much for making this review possible. It is not sponsored, but this product was gifted. We are going to be talking about this brand new foundation from Kjaer Weis, which I feel like is kind of a big launch if you are an avid fan of Kjaer Weis, because one of their most iconic products is their cream foundation. And I feel like aside from the packaging, usually that's what people are talking about when they're talking about Kjaer Weis, that and the cream blushes. But that's besides the point. There is a new product in town. We're going to be talking about it today. I've tested it over the weekend, so I definitely have a few thoughts on it. Thought we would just kind of apply it. I'll tell you some of the tips and tricks that have made this product work best for me, what I like about it, what I'm not so crazy about, and hopefully give you guys a pretty well-rounded review so that you know whether or not this is a product that you would want to purchase. Let's talk really quick about the packaging and the price. Price is $48 for this liquid foundation from Kjaer Weis. They do only have the refill pouch available, so you'll actually receive kind of like the white paper packaging, which if Kjaer Weis does one thing right, it is the packaging. Even the paper packaging feels super luxe and like something you want to hold on to, but this is really just the refill packaging. And then eventually they will start to carry a cap with it, which I actually have here because I used to have the Beautiful oil, which was in a very similar packaging to this, and the cap actually fits on this one. So if you have the Beautiful oil, you can use that cap for the foundation, or you can just go capless, either way. The actual container for the foundation is kind of a frosted glass, super beautiful, very aesthetically pleasing packaging. There is kind of a downside to this packaging though, which we will get into, and it has to do with the dropper. So we'll talk about that more when we're talking about the foundation. This has a 12-month expiration date and you get 1 fluid ounce for $48. There are 24 shades in this foundation range. I am the same shade that I am in their cream foundation, so the shades are supposed to be transferable. So I'm weightless in the cream foundation and I tried weightless in the liquid foundation and I found they're pretty much identical, which is great. It makes that easy. However, there are more shades available in this liquid foundation than the cream foundation. If you weren't able to find a shade in the cream foundation, hopefully you will be able to find one in this liquid range, but you don't have something to go off of, which can be a little bit tricky. I'm curious to see if they're going to also be expanding the cream foundation range as well. I think there's like growth areas in both shade ranges, but I was happy to see that there was more of an emphasis put on a larger shade range when they launched this product. So I'm just going to kind of clip my hair back really quick. So they recommend that you apply the Beautiful oil beforehand, that just like enhances the glow of the product. First time that I tried it, I just used my normal moisturizer, and then the second time I tried it, I actually used a little bit of Wildfire skin food, which is something that I usually will put under a base if I have drier skin, and I have some dry areas kind of around my nose right here, a little bit on my chin, and then some flakiness towards like the top of my forehead. And I will say right off the bat, for me personally, it didn't work with something like the Wildfire skin food. It didn't work with a more slippery, oily surface. It worked better for me with something a little bit tackier, like a moisturizer that will really like dry down and kind of create like a more matte surface for your foundation, for your base. Although they recommend the Beautiful oil, personally I would use that sparingly, and I would kind of play around with what base works best for you, because I don't necessarily think that is a uniform choice that will work for everyone. It certainly didn't work for my skin. It really made it so the foundation didn't last quite as long. I mentioned really quickly about the dropper itself. So it fits extremely tightly into the packaging, which can be a bit bothersome. One, just like when you pull it out, it's kind of awkward, it catches. I'm assuming that there's some reason for this, like maybe to help like preserve the product, to help keep a lot of air from coming in because it kind of pushes it out. I'm not totally sure on the physics of it, but it is a bit of an annoying user experience. It gets caught at the very top and you kind of have to pull it out and it releases a suction. It also makes it a bit tricky to actually pick up product. So what I would recommend is when you open it a little bit and then squeeze the product. Don't try squeezing the product when it's still screwed tightly into the container, or else you're not really going to get anything else. I'm just going to screw this back on. I'm going to give it a quick shake, and they recommend to start with 3 drops. So I'm going to put 3 drops on my hand, although it's a lot of air, so it's kind of hard to get 3 full drops. I don't feel like the dispensing mechanism is like quite there. And I'm going to be applying with my fingers because I found that in order to have this foundation perform best on my skin, I have to kind of tap it in. I haven't watched any reviews yet, so it'll be interesting to see if people have a similar feeling as me. But in a lot of the promotional imagery and videos, I've seen people kind of like wiping this product on, and I found that that took away pretty much all of the coverage of the product. And it also didn't do a service to the product because when you actually kind of tap it into your skin, it actually has a very pore filling effect. Whereas when you wipe it, I feel like it just kind of like wipes away and sits in a weird, awkward way on top of my skin. But when I take the time to kind of pat it in, the finish is really beautiful, and I also feel as though it starts to set much quicker. I feel like I need more than 3 drops. I feel like I've been averaging like maybe 5 or 6 drops to do my whole face with light coverage. Now, that being said, this is supposed to be a light to medium coverage complexion product. And I think that's fair, but it definitely leans on the lighter side of medium. So if you like something very sheer, like a tinted moisturizer, then using a more oily base, applying less of this product and kind of just like wiping it on, you will get that very sheer tinted moisturizer effect. If you want a little bit more coverage, but something that still feels very much everyday coverage, at least in the way that I enjoy wearing foundation and complexion products, then making sure your base is a little bit more matte and pressing the product in really gives you a higher coverage, borderlines medium coverage, but is still very light and very skin-like. Now, there is a fragrance to this product. I think it's a newer addition to Kjaer Weis products. I don't remember them having fragrances before, but it's sort of like a powdery floral scent. It's not like offensive to me. It doesn't like really linger, but if you're sensitive to fragrance, this might be one that you want to test the smell of first and see if it bothers you, because I can imagine for people who are very scent sensitive, this is not something that you'd want to be putting on your face or dealing with. Also, before I forget again to mention this, I always mention at the end of my videos, I'm trying really hard to be online for that first hour of my video so that I can reply back to you guys in like a timely manner and it won't take weeks for me to get back to you. So if you leave a comment in that first hour, I'm going to try my hardest to get back to you. So if you guys have any questions as you're watching this video, leave them in the comments and I will get back to you. Okay, I'm just going to quickly finish up my other makeup and then we'll talk a little bit about some of my thoughts and feelings about this foundation and how it wore throughout the day. So I will be right back. Pretty much the same, but a little bit different. Okay, you guys, so I am back with a little bit more makeup on my face to just do some final thoughts about how this actually wore throughout the day, sort of where I stand with it. So I've been wearing pretty much consistently the ILIA Super Serum Skin Tint SPF 40, like whenever I've been wearing makeup. And so I kind of feel like this foundation came at a good time for me because that's kind of the texture that I've been gravitating towards, something very skin-like, something that's easy to apply to your skin, but certainly that ILIA product has a lot of glow to it, and on occasion it can be a bit much, and I know that for people who I've suggested it to, like my sisters, they are not a fan of that glow. So they're like, give me something that feels like this, weightless but with less glow. And this product here, this Kjaer Weis foundation, doesn't have SPF, but it does have a very similar sheer skin-like finish. It's not quite as thick as the ILIA skin tint, and I actually think depending on how you apply it, it can have even less coverage than that, but it certainly be built up to what I have now, which is a light medium-ish amount of coverage, but very skin-like. So I kind of feel like this product, for reference, sits in between the Kosas Tinted Oil and then the Gressa Minimalist Foundation. So it kind of sits in the middle there. It has the very light coverage and very lightweight feeling like the Kosas Tinted Oil or the ILIA Serum Skin Tint that I was just talking about, but then it has a little bit more of a like velvety real foundation finish like the Gressa Minimalist Foundation, but it does not have that coverage, and it's not as buildable as that product. So it's kind of this middle of the road product. For me, it has the perfect amount of coverage for a foundation that I would want to wear every day. So if we were living in normal times, if I was going into the office, I would definitely wear this product with an SPF underneath it on an everyday basis. I feel like it is a comfortable amount of coverage. I feel like it covers what I want it to, but it doesn't look heavy on my skin. What I did notice is that depending on the base that I used, the product performed very differently. So when I used a more oily base and I didn't powder, about like 4 hours into it, I felt like most of the product had kind of dissipated from my skin, and I had a lot of shine going on. Now, when I wore a more matte base, like a moisturizer that's a little bit more matte or doesn't have as much glow to it, and then I also applied a powder, the longevity of this product was increased exponentially, and I felt like I got through the day and I felt really confident with where the coverage was. I did have some clinging in dry areas, especially kind of like around my nose. So if you have very dry skin with kind of a flakiness to it, I don't think that this is the foundation for you, because I did feel like it clung to those areas a little bit, and by the end of the day it had definitely settled in them, and the coverage really stayed in place so much better when I added a powder to it. So one of my favorite powders right now is the ILIA Fade Into You powder. It's very like light, finely milled, and just works really well to kind of like set a product and keep it in place. I do feel that using your hands to apply it, for me, it just works so much better, and I really got that kind of like pore filling effect that you would expect to see in like a silicone based foundation, and this does not have any silicone in it. So I thought that was a pretty cool aspect. That's probably one of my favorite things about the Westman Atelier cream foundation, is that it's so pore filling, and I do have larger pores like a lot of people around kind of my nose area and then a little bit in my T-zone. So to have those look a little bit smaller and also to have a product that kind of just smooths the appearance of my complexion, I was really happy with. I don't quite think that they have figured out the packaging of this. I really get irritated by this dropper. Like I said before, it just gets stuck and it feels kind of like awkward to take out. There's just like something about it that just doesn't work, and it's kind of a shame because there's no way around it. You definitely need that dropper to get this product out. I think it'll be interesting to see what the price point is once they introduce the cap. Personally, I would repurchase it without the cap. Again, I have a cap because of the beautiful oil that I used to have from Kjaer Weis, so I can use this, but I don't really think it makes that big of a difference. And certainly if the price is going to be increased a lot by the additional packaging, then in my opinion, I would just forego that and only purchase the refill. You still get this very aesthetically pleasing paper packaging, and then the packaging itself is beautiful too. The only thing that you're missing is that silver top, which in my mind doesn't make that big of a difference. I think if you are looking for something that can be more full coverage, their cream foundation, in my opinion, does have more of a buildable property to it than their liquid foundation. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're trying to choose between the two or you're not quite understanding what the difference is. So overall, I would say that this foundation sort of fits the makeup moment that I'm in right now. So those serum textures are just really appealing to me. Something very lightweight, something comfortable to wear throughout the day, and something that's not a ton of coverage. That's just enough to give me some like color correction, making my skin tone look a bit more even, but I'm not worrying so much about covering every last detail that I don't want to be shown. So if that's kind of like the makeup moment that you're into, then I think you will really enjoy this foundation. But again, if you're looking for something fuller coverage, if you're looking for something to use more like a concealer or for a more precise full coverage product, then the cream foundation is still probably your best bet between these two Kjaer Weis foundations. So I hope this was helpful. I hope that some of these tips will help you guys out if you do have this foundation, if you were thinking about purchasing it. Again, I feel like the biggest takeaways are kind of like matching your priming product. So whether that's a moisturizer or an oil to your skin's needs. So if you tend to get oily by the end of the day, you probably should do something a little bit more matte underneath this. If you have very dehydrated, very dry skin, then maybe an oil is necessary. For me, application with my fingers just worked best. If you want a very sheer, like a tinted moisturizer kind of coverage, then you can kind of slide it and glide it over your face and then tap it in. But if you want a bit more of a light to medium coverage, then actually pressing the product into your skin gives you fuller coverage and also kind of fills in your pores. And then lastly, if you do tend to get oily, pairing a powder on top of this at the very end is essential in my eyes. Definitely on the day that I didn't wear powder, I felt like the product kind of had lost a lot of its coverage, and then I also looked very oily by the end of the day. So a powder definitely does wonders with this. If I can answer any other questions for you guys, let me know down in the comments. I will have everything that I have talked about linked below in the description box. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll consider giving it a thumbs up, and if you're new to my channel, I hope you'll consider subscribing. So I will see you all next week. Have a wonderful rest of your day or night or whenever you're watching this. Thanks again for watching. Bye guys.